Today, I'm going to show you all the basics of research. Okay. As I mentioned in, oh man, you know what? That means that I can't even use our Cerritos Canvas. I mean, yeah, I can't even use our library databases. Okay. Huh. This is tricky because we need college campus resources. Okay, no, you know what? No, we don't. We don't always need college campus resources. So here's what I will do. Class canceled, everybody gets it. Well, here's the problem. Heck, the essay is still due. So yeah, class could be canceled, but the essay is still got to be due. So you know what? Here's what I'll do. I'll show y'all some research databases that I'll show y'all how to use Google Scholar and how to do like a kind of advanced Google search, which would help you to identify scholarly resources. And I'll also show y'all how to use research database centers that are independent of academic institutions, like the Pew Research Center, and a couple of other ones. We'll do a little bit of kind of deep diving through. We'll do a little bit of deep diving through some of these kind of databases and researches. Heck, love the enthusiasm, Jose. Absolutely love the enthusiasm. Heck, man. Let's get to it. I'm gonna show y'all procon.org because it's a cool site. Let me see. Let me just try it. Let me just see. Oops, let me share my screen with you. Let me see here. I want to share. Let me see. I'm gonna share my window with you. Okay. If you can, give me a thumbs up in the chat, or a yeah in the chat if you can see my screen right now. This is procon.org, but it's sponsored by Britannica Encyclopedia. Let me know if you can actually view that on your end right now. Oh, heck, you know what I really should have done? Let me do this. I'm going to actually pull this out. This is how I can do both. Sorry, y'all. I was born in the era of Nintendo and Reaganomics, so, I mean, I can learn just about anything that's. Thank you. Okay, great. Good, Jose. So I'm going to stop sharing just for a quick second. I'm going to share a new window. Bingo. Now you all see me without like the weird infinity mirror effect that comes from the way that I was previously sharing it. Okay, great. So now I can see what it is that you all see. So y'all should be able to see procon.org. And this is like such a really cool site. I'm going to actually see if we'll put a pin in that just for a second. I'm going to pull up these databases so I can see if we can access some of our college library. So this is just a simple Google search that I'm doing, right? Cerritos College Library Research Databases, right? Let's see if it'll come up. Looks like we got some action. Excellent. Okay, perfect. All right, folks. So this is good. All right. So if you're here at the, do you need, no, I don't need any help. Okay, so if you're here at the Cerritos College Library Research Databases, what you can do is click on the site and it'll pull you directly into the A to Z list of research databases, right? And I'm just kind of casually scrolling all the way down to the bottom just to show you the breadth and depth of research, online research databases that we have here in our research library online database center. Okay, so in other words, Cerritos College is kind of like a hub, right? The Cerritos College Library Database Center, right? This website right here is like the central hub, or like the nexus point from which we can access all other research database sites that we have partnerships with in our library database center. Okay. So now, just on its face, especially for those of you for whom this is your first time, you've never seen anything like this before, and you're like, oh my gosh, what the heck is all of this? Right? It's like, oh, well, how do you know which database site to actually use? Fear not. Fear not. This is just quite simply the database, the A to Z alphabetical list of the databases. Okay. You don't necessarily need to, unless you know specifically which one it is that you want to go to. You don't need to actually worry about this page right here. Okay. There's another way that you can navigate the tons of research databases that we have by going to research guides. Okay. But before we get there, that's where we're going to head. Before we get there, I want to show you three main sites that you can directly use on your own and that you can directly access from this A to Z database listing. Okay, so three sources, three sites. One, you've already been exposed to. It's called procon.org. So this is all alphabetized. If we go down to the P's, P's, we go down to the P's, right? And we should see, well, now that's fancy and brand new. They don't have Procon on here anymore. Let's see if they have it, because sometimes they actually switch the names. Like Procon used to be procon.org. Now it's ran by Encyclopedia Britannica. Let me see if it's under either Britannica. No, not under B. Let's see if it's under Encyclopedia. Right. Well, now that's weird. They don't have it under any of these. Okay, well then, luckily enough, you all already have it. Let me see if I might be able to do it. Let me see. Search this guide, procon.org. Let's see if we get any. Wow, so we must have canceled our subscription to procon.org. Well, luckily enough, you don't need a subscription, right? For some odd reason, it's not popping up on our research library database at Cerritos College, but you can still access it just quite simply by typing in procon.org, right? This is the website that is indeed available on your writing assignment number 3 prompt, right? So you have a link that's there. I'm just highlighting a couple of reference points. The direct line reference that you need that's probably the most relevant for you is the website name. Just type in procon.org into a Google search and it'll take you here, okay? You'll know that you're in the right place if it says Britannica in the upper left-hand corner, all right? Now, going back, let's see if they have some of my other sites. Oh, no, now I'm nervous. Oh, thank God. Whew. Okay, so the next site. So you have one, procon.org, okay, right? That's one. Let me do this. I'm going to copy it. Check the chat. Boom. There's the link for the first site. Two, the second site that I want to show you to is called Issues and Controversies, right? Issues and Controversies. Now, this is kind of similar to procon.org in that it's a research database that gathers over 800 different topics that are usually current, live, and relevant topics from that range from the subject areas of business, politics, government, education, and even popular culture. I love this site as a resource, right? Because, okay, see, so this is where we might run into some problems because we got hacked, folks. Let's see. Do I have access? Cross your fingers, cross your toes, cross your shoelaces. Yes, we got action. Thank you, everybody who's participated. In my bit of folk belief. All right, folks. So, because of your good luck charms and all the fingers, toes, and shoelaces that you've crossed, we were able to get access to issues and controversies. Now, if you take a look here, you'll see that we can browse content where we can explore issues, we can explore pro con articles, or even kind of look at what they call debate videos, where they present audience members, us, with on a given topic, right? What speakers or researchers, either speakers or researchers, who exist either for or against a particular topic or a particular issue have said about that particular issue and the case that they need to make, right? So we can always kind of go through and explore these. Let's dive right on into the pro con articles, just so that way we can kind of explore. All right. This is not an exhaustive list of how to do research, but I'm just trying to show you what this site here actually offers. Once you identify your topic, you can type your topic into the search of this database and then go and explore using some of the navigational tools that I'm providing right here for you all, right? So it looks like here that you can search by topic, right? So we can actually narrow our search by topic. So depending upon what you're writing about, right? Somebody drop in the chat, what their topic is about, right? Is it about education? Is it about, poverty? Is it about, popular culture, media representation and journalism, or, media representations in race? Drop in the chat, what one of your topics might actually be. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Jose. Heck yeah. Yeah, man. Get the dog's toes crossed too. Excellent. Excellent. So let me see some topics in the chat. Drop your topics in the chat for my folks who are tapped in live with us right now. Let's see what we have. Just whatever topic it is that you might actually be kind of interested in. Because what we're going to do, if I don't actually get any topics, then I'll just pick a random one. I just figure that it might actually be the most useful if I can get one of your topics, and then we can just kind of like model or kind of, present like a general set of information that'll be directly relevant to at least one person and the research topic that they're doing. Okay, looks like I might still have folks might still be trying to decide on their research topic. So remember, just FYI, folks, you can, right? If you those of you who've seen the weekly updates and announcements, you can select your same topic from writing. Okay, you can still select that and forward with that as a research topic for writing assignment number 5 for this research argument proposal, right? There's some differences that I actually cover in that video that you can go back and watch at your leisure to understand what the difference is between the argument that you're actually presenting in argument number 3, writing assignment number 3, versus writing assignment number 5. Okay, so let me just head on and dive right on into just pick one of these topics here. So let's just go right and just kind of pick. Oh wow, heck, I just happened to pick cheerleading, right? Okay, so here we go. Perfect. So this is a topic right on cheerleading, right? So here's the central issue, right? The central problem. Remember, for all arguments, if you don't have an issue, you don't have an argument. So it's vitally important that we understand what our research question, right, is, as was described and explained in chapter 15 of the PDF that I provided for you all under week 14. Okay, so our issue question under this topic here is: should schools crack down on provocative or dangerous cheerleading routines? Now, obviously, I do want to actually preface, right? And heck, you know what? Let me just go back to a better topic because that's not a specific social issue, right? Let me identify a specific social issue. Let's find E for education. Let's see what we get. Okay, ed policy, ed reform. Electoral college. Ah, yeah, heck yeah, this is a good one. Corporate social responsibility. There we go. Yeah, now we're getting to some of the topics that we've been discussing. College rankings, college tuition, comic books and graphic novels. This would be a personally fun topic for me, but I wouldn't necessarily pick it because even though this is where my heart's desire lies, and y'all know how much I nerd out, this is not necessarily a topic that presents a clear, specific social problem, right? So you want to actually focus on a topic that presents a clear, specific social problem, right? Let's go here to corporate social responsibility, right? So this one here certainly represents a specific social problem, right? In fact, in one of my courses, um, so this is writing assignment number 5, Jose. Writing assignment number 5, the research argument should be underneath week 14. Um, you know what? You can't even access the writing assignment prompt right now. You know what? Hold on. I'm so sorry because everything is on Canvas. I'm sorry. Give me 1 second, folks. We're going to return right after these quick commercial break, or right after this quick commercial break. I need to try to find. There we go. Okay. Oh, Jose, that's exactly what your final paper should be on. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yep. Yes. Yeah, that's exactly what your writing assignment should be. Your last final essay is writing assignment number 5, right? So, I was able to find a copy. Let me see here. How am I going to do this? Okay, so I'm going to try to make an online version of this writing assignment. You know what? I'm so sorry, man. My apologies, Jose. If it did sound like I said something different, man, I'm so sorry. That's probably my that's probably the internet gods frowning upon me right now. It's the hackers. It's the hackers. That's why I'm blaming the hackers for everything today. Hey, look, if I appear choppy, it's the hackers. If I appear choppy right now, it's because it's the hackers. Right? If I get disconnected, it's because it's the hackers. They don't want us to be great. um, let me see. Okay, it looks like it may have. Let me see. Okay, I'm gonna try to copy a link. Okay, so I believe there should be a copy that's online now. Y'all, check the chat, hit this link, see if you can gain access to it from that link. Um, I'm gonna prepare for the worst case scenario. That is to say, if you will not be able to access it through that link, and I'm gonna actually try to make a backup on Google Drive where the hackers have not yet infiltrated. I just hope that my file formatting stays the same. Please, yes, yes, excellent. For the most part, it stayed the same. So cool. Okay. All right, folks. So just in case that did not work, I have a backup. Let me know in the chat. Did that work? Maybe, but if they hacked, if they if the hackers move my grade to an A, don't move my grade, please. Okay. So don't worry, but don't even try to press it. Don't even try to press further, Jose. Here, I'm gonna send another link to y'all. So this is the. Let me see. Make sure that my share settings are okay. Anyone with the link? Done. Oops. No, wait. Share. Anyone with the link can view. There we go. Update the parent. Copy link. Done. Okay. Okay. Yeah, sorry about that. So sometimes the Microsoft database that we have through Cerritos only allows for people with Cerritos college emails to access it. So it's like restrictive in that sense. But Google is not. Google is an equal opportunist inviter to all files. Okay. So you should be able to actually see the assignment prompt. On this Google on this Google doc right here. Okay, let me see. Let me go back and check. All right. Excellent. Good. Excellent, Jose. Okay. Okay, so let's take a look here. I do want to actually kind of review this prompt here. Now, this is an old prompt that I just had, but it's still should still be very relevant. Essay 65 majority of research. Hmm. Give me 1 second. Hmm. Okay, so it may just be aware that the writing assignment prompt that is on Canvas. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, so just be aware that the writing assignment prompt that is on Canvas um, might be slightly modified. It might look a little different from this one here, but the main idea, and I think the main thrust of this assignment prompt here, excuse me, the main essence of the idea is still present. I'll just kind of make it clear for y'all, what's not going to be included. Yeah, see, I'm not asking y'all to actually write this is just a policy proposal. Hmm. Yeah, the latest version of this research argument proposal. Okay, so yeah, the latest version of this is definitely on Canvas. Um, so I'm sorry, you're gonna have to bear with me here for a second. I'm gonna just kind of capture the main essence, just so that way it can give us a reference point. And then just once we end up kind of remedying the Canvas issue, go back to Canvas. You can double check the assignment prompt itself and get the specific wording from the prompt. But this is just the general essence of what that prompt here is asking for us to do. So, in an essay of 6 to 8 pages, you're going to take a stance on a major social issue that affects a specific group of Americans. So, in particular, I want you to actually focus on a major social issue that affects folks on a wide scale social level. Okay. The majority of your research should be focused on researching the solutions to the problem, right? The solutions to the social problem, and that's what you're going to implement, right? That's what you're going to argue. Okay, so your goal here is for you to research not so much the problem, right? I don't want you to write an essay that just tells me about the history of this problem. That is what I do not want you to do. Okay, that is the essay done wrong. Okay, um, you're going to research the problem, right? That is to say, you're going to come across a variety of different sources and researchers who have explored the history of how this problem developed or how the problem got to be this way, right? You're going to come across a lot of people who do a ton of research. Your goal is to focus in to go and find, right? Do the Scooby Doo investigation gang search on the solutions that these researchers have discovered. Okay? Your thesis statement should be specifically an arguable claim on what should be done about this problem and the 3 reasons why we should implement that solution. That's what this research argument, whether you're writing a practical proposal or a policy proposal, right, should be focused on. Okay. So we're going to ignore this right here, right? This stop and frisk policy. Although this could be an example of one, right? For example, consider, right, the recent incident of police brutality at Arizona State University, right? So the issue, social problem, right, is the continuing ongoing instances of police brutality, but specifically police brutality on college campuses, right? Now, I think you're going to probably find more information on police brutality in general and less information that focuses on police brutality at specifically at college campuses if you're doing like general reference, database reference researches. So you're going to have to do a more specified, more narrowed search if your topic is going to cover um, police brutality at colleges and universities. Okay. So, research stop and frisk policies, right? As a way to help to kind of get your feet wet, right? As a way to try to help to get you started. You're going to the purpose of this particular writing assignment number 5, research argument proposal, is for you to write a proposal that argues for a change or that argues for either a practical change or a policy change, right? That can help to stop the issue, right? Or that can help to address the issue, right? Provide an effective solution for the issue of police brutality, right? Now, a practical proposal means that it's a proposal of a strategy that anybody can implement, right? That it's easy to implement. It's something, right, that can be quickly implemented, right? And it's something that does not require a large scale strategic effort to implement. That's a practical proposal, right? As we read in chapter 15 from the Writing Arguments PDF that's available underneath week 14 in our Canvas modules, right? The policy proposal is a much larger scale, system-wide proposal that looks to leverage or that looks to use a particular kind of strategy to address the specific social issue, right? So here, right, that might actually look like, right, the like a new law, right? Whichever approach it is that you take, right, just be very clear. Your research argument proposal, you could take the same topic that you started off writing about in writing assignment number 3, right? That you submitted your writing assignment number 3, the visual argument on, right? You could take that topic and now do research on the solutions that would best remedy or solve or address that problem. Okay. So let's take, for example, I'm exploring the issue and the topic, right, of corporate greed. Excuse me. So this is just a topic, right? Corporate greed is just a topic. There are multiple issues that exist within this topic. One issue when it comes to corporate greed is income inequality, right? The phenomenon whereby the executives or the leadership at the top of an organization, right? Like the executives at Amazon or the executives at Google earn 500 times more than the people who work in the Amazon warehouse, right, of their own company, or the people who work at the ground level at Google, right? The folks who are in the call centers, right? The growing income inequality gap that characterizes both the national economy and the global economy, right? So that's what this particular that's an example of a specific issue that exists within a larger topic, right? Another example of a specific social issue, right, is the problem. This problem here is affecting a lot of people on a wide scale social level, is the issue of wealth transfer, meaning, right, the growing prevalence of economic crises where jobs, savings, and access to wealth generating products like housing, like employment, right, are becoming less and less available with each economic crisis that we have. But the access to the extra wealth that's created, right, from laying off hundreds of thousands of workers, right, because of economic crises, right? A lot of companies end up laying off workers. Like, for example, in the tech industry, a bunch of people just ended up actually getting laid off, right? At Google, at Amazon, right? At Microsoft, at Apple, so on and so forth, right? When we go through a major economic crisis, what ends up happening is that the companies end up letting go of a specific percentage of their workforce. And those people never end up finding jobs that pay them as much as they were making previously. And as a result, the companies get to actually the leadership at the top get to hold on to whatever profits it is that they were um, uh, able to save from laying off their workers, right? They get to keep that money at the top for more bonuses and executive tax breaks, right? While the workers are forced to work jobs where they don't make as much, and they also have to work more hours, right? That's the known as the phenomenon of wealth transfer, right? So that's a problem because the mass majority of middle class Americans are experiencing increasing um, uh, job loss, while at the same time, the executives at major transnational corporations, are experiencing a record margin of profit as a result of them laying off their workers, right? So these here are just some examples. I'm kind of walking you through like just some examples of like major social issues, major social problems, right, that exist within the topics that have been provided on the assignment prompt itself. Okay. Um, if we're looking at debt, specific issue, the mortgage crisis, student loan debt, right? Looking at inequality, a specific social issue that's affecting people on a wide scale social level is unequal pay, right? The pay gap between men and women, right? Colorblind racism, the lack of access to jobs for people of color, especially brown folks, especially minorities, especially folks whose immigration status might be in question, right? Who are oftentimes people of color, and access to resources that they need to live, like housing, education, healthcare, uh, legal representation, right? Equal representation under the law, employment, so on and so forth. Right? These here are just examples of specific issues that I want to highlight for you all in these topics that are presented on the actual assignment prompt itself. I want you to pick one specific issue. Don't pick multiple. Only pick one. Okay. And now we have to do some research about it, right? So I'm just, for the sake of the example of today, I want to show you all how to explore online research databases from our Cerritos College Library database to better inform yourselves about the specific the specific issue, the specific problem that you are writing about. So first and foremost, it starts, let's go back here. Corporate social responsibility, issues and controversies, right? So I would go to issues and controversies, and let's just say I don't have any idea about this topic, or rather, I kind of know it just from experience, right? I work at Hooters, right? And I don't get paid enough. I work long hours, and I only get paid $2.43, and I'm expected to make up the rest in tips, right? Obviously, those numbers there are not necessarily real, right? I don't obviously really work at Hooters, but I'm, again, for the sake of examples, okay? I don't think they would hire me at Hooters. I'm not cute enough. But that's besides the point. Anyways, stick with me, walk with me, folks. um, so let's just say that I only have that example, right, as a worker there, right? I need to actually kind of use more than just my own personal experience in order to be better informed about this particular project. So I need to do some research. I'm going to start here at Issues and Controversies, right, which is a website that my professor told me about, and it helps me to better understand, or it helps me to better get a better sense of what the issue is, the background of the history on the issue, how things got to be this way, and what some proposed solutions might look like to help to solve or address this particular problem, right? Okay, so wow, this was last updated February. I wonder if they mean if this is a typo and they mean 2026, February 24th, 2026. Anyways, you don't want to use a resource that's this old. I'm going to give this website here the benefit of the doubt, just for again for the sake of the model, so we can just kind of show you, so I can show you how to kind of think through and learn more about these research topics that you're interested in. Right. So first and foremost, I can see here that there's an introduction. The reason why I love issues and controversies is because they gather up all this information right here in the table of contents very effectively, right? So they pull together an introduction with a summary of what the general argument is of people who argue in the affirmative of this question and people who argue in the negative of this question, right? So people who argue in the affirmative believe that corporations, big corporations, should strive to be socially responsible. People who argue in the negative argue that corporations should not be held socially responsible. Okay. So, as a researcher, if this is my first time kind of really diving in, and the only thing that I have is just kind of personal experience with working at Hooters, and I know that I don't get paid a whole heck of a lot, right? But I do believe that the company should actually pay better wages and that I should not be required to make up the rest of my wages and tips, right? Like if that's my general reference point, right, then I want to actually inform myself about, well, what's the specific social problem and how do things come to be this way about the problem? So I'm going to start here by looking at what the supporters argue, what the opponents argue, and then looking at the general introduction to the problem itself, right? So what makes a corporation socially responsible? So I have to actually understand what that means, define it, corporate social responsibility, right? And then look here, across my research, I'm going to come across a key critical research question. Here it is. Do companies strictly adhere to this idea of social responsibility when making business decisions, right? Or is this is short for corporate social responsibility? Is corporate social responsibility simply an example of political correctness that's infiltrating the business world, right? So, depending upon which position I take, right, I'm going to use only one of these research questions to drive my research argument, my research altogether, right? So let's just say, again, for the sake of the example, that I argue that corporations should be held responsible, right, for the choices that they make. So I'm going to actually clip this. I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to find a blank. Go here to my document, right? See, because we have to actually create a like a notes section, right? Research field notes for research argument proposal, right? And here I'm going to actually include, I'm going to say topic, right? Corporate social responsibility. Okay, right. So boom, I have my topic, social corporate social responsibility. Here, I want to actually make it clear, right? What is my specific social issue, right? Boom, I've got my specific social issue. So now here, I'm going to actually write background of the issue right? And then I'm gonna actually write thesis statement, okay? Background of the issue. I'm gonna put solution slash thesis statement, okay? So as I'm doing research here, I want to actually keep notes on what it is that I come across. So if you look here, you'll find that there's a series of tabs at the top of this research database, which includes a list of primary sources, court cases, even like kind of popular media, infographics, news editorials, and then news articles that are all collected on this topic of corporate social responsibility, right? So from here, you want to take a look at their primary sources, right? So there are three main primary sources: the U.S. State Department's position on corporate social responsibility, product safety, business ethics, corporate social responsibility, Walmart, Google, Exxon. Looks like this here is an editorial cartoon. That's not going to yield very much information. Maybe I might want to start up. Doesn't look like they have court cases. Let's see if they have media. Looks like they have a series of podcasts, right? From 2021, right? Is it time to redistribute? Print, social media, or popular culture, radio or podcasts, broadcasts. So that might, a couple of them, maybe two. I might select two that might be worth listening to. All right, so let's say I'm going to actually look through these descriptions here. How the CARES Act became a tax break, right, for the rich. Is it time to redistribute the wealth? Well, that looks like it's similar to the question that I was asking. So let me actually take and collect it. Under my list of resources. I'm going to actually number these so that way I can keep track of them. All right. So boom, I have the link and I have a little bit of a description right here. Okay. Now I might slide on over to the infographics. There's no infographics on this. No editorials. Let's see if there's some news articles. Okay. So there's some news articles that are here. Don't really see very much that stands out to me. Okay, so I don't have to actually rely on all of these things, but they're present and they all are populated differently based on whatever topic it is that you may have, right? So you want to make sure that you kind of just go through and peruse through what might be useful for your argument, right? For your essay. And again, you can kind of use this. You can kind of use this as a guide, right? Take notes on the topic, right? Gather up research and database information that helps to give you more information on the specific social issue, right? The background of the issue, and then the solutions. Okay, we've found it's going to go all the way over, right? The entire history of this particular social problem. Your job, your goal here is to apply the critical thinking strategy of summary. If you think back to our dialectical journal, okay, where you wrote, where you applied one of the 5 critical thinking strategies. Remember, we learned about summary, analysis, inference, and synthesis and critical evaluation. Right. So we learned about those 5 critical thinking topics. You're going to apply the critical thinking the critical thinking strategy of summary. Pull out the main information. You want to read through this whole section all the way up until the supporters argue, right? You want to read all the way up to here. The overview, right? So you can get a better understanding of the history behind this problem. See, when you can summarize the key information that's provided right here and cite where you got your information, where the sources are from, then you're better informed about what you learn about this project, about this problem, and how do we do it. Oh no, sorry, Jose, this is about a minute ago. I'm frozen. Am I frozen? Can you see me? Uh-oh. Give me a some type of reaction in the chat. Oh, I'm back. Okay, cool. Let me turn on some light. You see here. There we go. Okay. I should be able to actually see me a lot better now. Okay. It looks like my internet connection here is actually unstable. That might be the problem. Okay, how about now? I should be coming in much better now. I'm taking some electronic devices off of Wi-Fi. Glitchy. Am I still glitchy, folks? Can you kind of see me? It's my tragic attempt at voguing. Okay. All right. Cool. Good. Excellent. 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 Okay. So hopefully we got better lighting. We got better internet connection response. Okay. So, right, we want to actually review the reason why I love issues and controversies is because it does such a great job of giving students access to information that helps to summarize the background of their issues, right? The specific social issues and problems that they want to explore, right? So, in other words, this is the thing that y'all need to be looking at if you want to try to better inform yourself about the history of the problem and how things got to be this way for you. Okay, so the other reason why I like it too as well is because when you take a look here at like the what the supporters have argued, right? First of all, the other reason why I like it is because it presents you a, a couple of perspectives, right? Supporters who argue from the positive of the issue question, and then people who argue from the negative of the issue question. And more importantly, it by and large, it gives you a set of facts, key facts, statistics, and data. Now, as you read through this, you'll be able to evaluate. You need to evaluate the sources, right? Excuse me, the relevancy of the evidence that's provided, right? What that means is, again, according to Chapter 15, when we're evaluating the relevance of the information, the evidence that's provided, what we're looking at is, is this the evidence that's provided, is it sufficient enough to persuade a general public audience, right? Is it accurate, right? And then most importantly, is it relevant? So is it sufficient? Is it accurate? Is it relevant? Right? Those are the three things that we want to ask ourselves as we're reading through both the supporters, right? Even if we're reading through the side that agrees with our position, right? We want to ask ourselves those three questions, right? Is it sufficient? Is it accurate? And is it relevant? All right. Is the evidence presented sufficient, accurate, and relevant, right? So here we can actually take a look at some of the evidence that's provided, right? Corporations have obligation to be socially responsible. And so here it'll actually present you with a series of facts, evidence, and data that was gathered or on this research database, right? So here you'll see charts, you'll find various reasons, right? That actually here, let's kind of go through at least a couple of paragraphs here. So the corporate social responsibility movement defenders argue that big corporations, look right here, anytime you see the word because, right, or due to, right, that signals a logical reason. Anytime you see the word because or due to, right, or in order to, those all signal logical reasons. So due to, right, or because of their enormous role in today's society, right, they are obligated to conduct their business while maintaining an awareness of their social responsibility. Okay, right? So here, the bottom line of the balance sheets of the balance sheet defines a business goal, but not the sum of its responsibilities of leaders. A firm should be loyal to the community, mindful of the environment. Should be loyal to the community, mindful of the environment, right? This comes from President Bush in 2002. It goes on to further actually state that corporations could very easily maximize their profits by engaging in practices like sweatshop labor, right? Or by ignoring the degree to which their business procedures harm the environment, right? So here, right, this is actually saying that corporations, here's the problem, right? So this is a statement that speaks to the actual problem itself. Corporations focus on maximizing their profits while at the same time exploiting groups of people, groups of people and their labor in order to create more profit, in order to drive more money into the pocketbooks of their board and corporate shareholders, right? Therefore, they say we have to have some kind of ethical check on corporations. Advocates assert that due to the recent gains that have been made by the corporate social responsibility movement, specifically including the rising popularity of triple bottom line reports, such as corporate malfeasance, is becoming increasingly difficult to cover up, right? Many advocates of corporate social responsibility argue that corporate social responsibility is too important to remain voluntary and that it should be mandated, right, for all companies. Okay, so, but why, right? Why should it be mandated? That's a question. If I'm a researcher, right, that's a question that comes up to me, right? Why should it be mandated? Well, it looks like because one reason why it should be mandated, right, is because if I'm looking here at this line, one reason why it should be mandated is it seems like to reduce harm to the environment. Let's see if this is something that's explored further. Let's continue reading. Many advocates, in fact, argue that corporate social responsibility is too important to remain voluntary. It should be a government mandated program. Governments must take a stand on corporate social responsibility and start driving the agenda rather than insisting that it be business led. That's according to Ella Joseph, right, who's a fellow at the progressive British think tank, right, the Institute for Public Policy Research. She continues to explain that equality, diversity, and environmental sustainability cannot be dismissed, but why? I'm curious as to why. This isn't telling me why. Corporate social responsibility advocates, right, also make the argument that a commitment to corporate social responsibility is actually good for business, right? They point to a 22 survey. Oh, so here's a reason why, right here, right? So the reason why it's good to commit to corporate social responsibility is according to a 2002 survey of corporate executives from around the world. Uh, that survey indicates that 70% of global business leaders believe that corporate social responsibility contributes to the company's overall profit margins. Boom, we've just found our first logical reasons, right? For this argument right here, look, again, so I'm going to take this, right? I'm going to actually highlight it. And I'm going to actually plop it right here, right? Solution, thesis statement. I'm going to actually put that right here, right? So boom, here goes like one of my first logical reasons, right? Or at least something that I could actually explore and maybe potentially transform into a logical reason, right? So they point to a 2002 survey, right? Corporate executives from around the world, right? That they believe, right? So because business leaders, global business leaders believe that corporate social responsibility, believe that CSR contributes to a company's overall profit margins, right? Reasons why that's true, supporters argue. One reason supporters cite is that CSR has become thoroughly ingrained in US business school, right? And as a result, it's difficult for companies to recruit top business talent. Support that notion that most people want to work for companies, right? So here's another reason, right? I'm going to take the full sentence. And here I might even actually include the example. Jose, are you seeing what I'm doing right here? I'm identifying in my research what the logical reasons are that support the the argument in favor of corporate social responsibility, right? In other words, I'm identifying the logical reasons that support the claim that I want to make, right? And I'm identifying it in the research directly. Excellent. Good, 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 good. Okay. Right. So, indeed, statistics show that people want to work for companies that have been influenced by the CSR movement. For example, in 2003, the survey of college undergrads in the world's top 20 economies found that that a majority of college students would prefer to work for companies that have a positive impact on society. Wow. I'm going to want to actually look that up and kind of get some more information about this because that might be one of my important logical reasons that I can actually explore and make that'll help to make my case. Another another reason why they say that is good for business is that it improves reputation, right? So boom, now I found another one. And I'm loosely keeping track of these points here that stand out to me so that way I can know what it is position, right? A critical element in that they trust, according to Cisco Systems Chief Executive Chambers. It looks like I might be choppy. Am I choppy? I shouldn't be choppy. Okay. I'm blurry. Shoot. Heck, man, heck, I thought that if I actually thought I could actually correct it, but heck, you know what? Heck, it is 7 o'clock, and a lot of people around the neighborhood are back home and they're using the internet. It's folks. Okay, so the success of the fair trade movement demonstrated that I'm just oh shoot, I'm frozen. Okay, I don't know if you can actually hear me. Sorry about that. I am. Hopefully, I'm not still frozen. Okay. All right. Hopefully, I'm not still frozen. I should be okay now. So, the success of the fair trade movement has demonstrated that consumers are willing to go out of their way to purchase uh, items. Oh, no, 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 no. I'm not even close to falling asleep. I just want to make sure that I was kind of, moving so you can see if I'm frozen or not still. uh, Even if those products cost a little bit more, right? The positive publicity engendered by CSR practices can also reverse the sort of negative attention that's been given to big companies in the wake of major corporate scandals, right? Additionally, CSR helps to improve, excellent, good, right? In addition, CSR helps to improve companies, it helps companies to achieve long term wealth. So, according to Steve Lindenberg, right, who's the author of Corporations in Public Interest, Guiding the Invisible Hand, Lindenberg actually writes that corporations create long term wealth when, in addition to generating productivity gains, they preserve natural resources for future generations and create value in their relationships with their stakeholders. And when they do not externalize costs onto society, right? Um, Perhaps one of the most important ways that CSR can be demonstrated is through environmentalism, right? So that could yet and still become another reason that we want to try to formulate and explore. Now, you're not going to write 5 reasons, okay? You're not going to use 5 logical reasons. You're going to only use 3. So you want to take the best out of these logical reasons that we see being presented here. You want to take the best ones that you can argue for. Okay, right. So here, right, they point to Millennium Ecosystem Assessment, right, as proof that changes need to be made in the way that people treat the environment. Humans are putting such a strain on natural functions, right, that the ability of the planet's ecosystem to sustain future generations can no longer be taken for granted. Okay, right. So I just wanted to kind of just walk you through at least what some of the supporters actually say, and just to kind of model for you how you can pull different or excuse me, how what to look for. What you want to look for are the logical reasons, fact statistics based on fact statistics, evidence, and data that help to inform and support your arguable claim about what should be done to address this specific social problem. And I just wanted to model that for you all on the website, the database website of Issues and Controversies, right? You can take this same example that I provided for you all and you can apply it to any research database where you're trying to gather up the data and the information to help you to become better informed about your position or your stance on the issue itself. Okay, does that make sense, y'all with me? Right? Now, I can also take a look here, right, at what the opponents actually argue. And I can actually take some of the most rational that actually agree with my stance, right? And if it's it, not that this should be a not that you want to use points that contradict your own stance in your logical reasons, because then that would be a logical fallacy, right? But if there's a good point that you have a response for, if there's a good point that the opponents or that the opposite side is raising, that some of based on that you can directly address, right? Then you want to actually pull some of those positions into the later on in your essay, right, where you're addressing the opposing side. Okay, so this is where you can gather up an understanding about excuse me, what your opponents are arguing, right, or what some alternative perspectives might actually look like um, when it responding to the specific social issue, right? This is where you can actually find and gather up some of their logical reasons. Okay. But the point is, when you do indeed read through your opposition, you want to read through it and you want to actually see where it is that, they have points that your research actually directly addresses. Okay. Because when your research directly addresses it, now you have a case in the ground for rebutting, right? Um, in a rare but certainly few cases, um, there may be a moment, or there may be uh, yeah, there may be a time where you're actually persuaded to the other side based on your research and database. Excuse me, based on the research that you conduct in the databases, right? Um, and that's okay, but you want your on what should be done to be informed by evidence, facts, statistics, and data that you have researched. Okay, right? So an actual conclusion, right? One of the other things that I love about this particular website is that it provides you with a list of discussion questions. Any one of these questions that applies best to your research topic can be remixed into a research question, right? You'll have to actually read through and identify which particular kind of question it is that which particular question sets you up to explore a solution, right? So you want to choose those questions that help to set you up to explore a line of logic on a solution. So, for example, this is not necessarily a good question, right? Because it's asking your opinion. It starts, so here's how you know, right? Do you think? eh, yeah, sure. Why not? This is not a good research question, right? So I'm not going to pick this kind of question to fill this gap in here right here, right? To become my specific social issue. I'm not going to pick that one. Why? Because this is a question that's asking me about my opinion versus this question here. Why do advocates say corporate responsibility is good for business? Right? That question right there could be remixed into a specific social issue, right? Or rather, it could be remixed to highlight the specific social issue. So, for example, you could remix this question here. I'm going to show you the blueprint for, right, Jose. I'm going to show you the blueprint for how to utilize or how to gauge whether or not this question here is to good as a research question, right? So, why do advocates say that corporate social responsibility, right, is actually good for business, right? Well, at least according to the research above, there's several reasons as to why, but as I'm presenting this issue, right, I want to just kind of raise it for a group of audience folks who don't have an understanding about where this issue came from or even how it came to be. So, in other words, I might want to remix this question here for a general first time public audience to ask, instead of why do advocates say that corporate social responsibility is actually good for business, I might want to actually remix it to, Can social responsibility actually be good for business? Or is corporate social responsibility good for business or good for the environment or good for a more just and equal society? Right. Again, I'm remixing that question there, but it's rooted here in this list of discussion questions. This is the reason why I wanted to show you all issues and controversies, because this database gives you a list of discussion questions, only one of which you need to buy as your as being a candidate for remixing into your research question, right? It also gives you a list of additional sources. It also gives you a list of keywords, right, that you could do further research on. It gives you a list of a bibliography, so more resources that you can go and explore, some online, right? So this is the reason why I wanted to show you, because it gathers up all this information here. Google would never put all of this stuff here in a one-stop shop. And if you want to cite it, here's the URL that will go into the rest of your citation, okay? If you wanted to cite this in your resources, all right? So this is how you actually conduct research of a specific database, right? Let me actually redirect. No, thank you. But let's say that you don't know anything at all about your topic, right? Let's say that you're like, oh my gosh, I don't really quite know exactly what. I don't even have a specific issue. I kind of sort of maybe might know what it is that I want to actually do, right? Good, 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 Jose. Heck yeah. Yeah, man. No, no, it's such a cool website, right? It's such a cool website. So procon.org does something similar, but not to the degree that issues and controversies does, right? Procon.org, it's another one. Let me see. I had another student who was asking about homelessness, and boom, heck, it's right here on procon.org. Right, that's like a great place to actually go and do some research. Let me see. Corporate social responsibility. Yeah, boom. See, so here we have another database research that we could actually do, right? So this gives you a corporate social responsibility report. This is brilliant. This is yet another resource or tool that you could use for gathering your research here, right? Okay. See, you might be able to actually do. Let me see here. Okay, here we go. You can go here to procon.org and issues and controversies, right? In order to gather up information that'll help you to be better informed, to be the most informed that you can possibly be, to help to provide the best, most persuasive argument in your essay, right? So use both databases. Now, if you don't know anything about your topic at all, right, you can actually go through. That's okay. Fear not. Don't worry. You can actually go to and right, if you don't know anything about your topic, if you've never used anything in relationship to like research library databases, that's okay. Right, you can go right here to the research library guides, right, on Cerritos College Library website, and then you can scroll down to controversial issues. Look at what it does. Oh my goodness. Right? It gives you so many different topics, right? On so many, well, there's so many different topics that are actually here, right? There's about 107 that you can all like kind of explore and kind of peruse through. Okay. Right. So the idea here is that the research database guides help to provide you all with a very quick excuse me, not quick, but it helps to summarize, right, and put together all in one central location, right, a set of resources. That is to say, websites, books, reference sources, and also uh, journal articles for you to do research on, right? So here, right, how to search the databases. Here, it's going to give us a little bit of a guide, right? So I showed you how to kind of do it, just like in a very kind of real quick, kind of hodgepodge connected kind of way, right? A kind of grassroots way, right? An organic way of exploring two specific databases, right, where you can gather up research. Now, our Cerritos Library research guides are very meticulously put together resources by our librarians, right? They're a phenomenal team. If y'all need help researching, go to the library, go ask for one of the librarians. I mean, Stephanie Rosenblatt is actually like a really amazing librarian who's present, who's there. Monica Lopez is also one of our most phenomenal librarians who's there too as well. You can tell them Professor Cag sent you. Okay, they will be more than happy to help. But folks like them, those hardworking librarians, have put together these research guides which help to introduce you all to how to search the databases. This is actually Stephanie Rosenblatt right here. So if you actually kind of take a look at, right, how to get started helping identify an issue or a topic, there's a video that's here for you that she's made. Getting started, quickly finding all the info you need in one place. This is actually one of the best resources that we could find. And this is actually the stage that we find ourselves at right here. Oh no. Oh heck. You know what? Probably because of the hackers. Oh man, folks. I think that the hackers have actually they've affected our videos, y'all. They've affected these videos. Once we get this cleared up, I do want you all to please remember this, because my YouTube, it's untouched by the hackers. Okay. Access my YouTube and you can make sure to go back to this website, just the research library database guides, excuse me, the research library guides. Make sure this is underneath research and controversial issues, right? So research library database guides, find the section that says research and controversial issues, and then click on getting started. All right. That's all that you have to do in order to trace your steps right back to right and right back, more importantly, to these videos. Okay. So you're going to go there. And you can pull up the videos and watch them at your own pace, right? Kind of in your leisure, right? But when it comes to picking a topic, right, here they give you a list of issues that you could certainly select from, right? And info-based topics, right? And this is essentially what I've already given you in this right here on the assignment prompt. Okay, so it's essentially the same thing, right? Except the significant difference is that this is going to be much more extensive than the list that I provided for you all on the assignment prompt. Okay. Um, my list is intentionally not exhaustive, right? Because I don't want to actually overwhelm you all. Oh no, it looks like we might not be able to actually gain access to it. I don't know. But let's see. There we go. Okay. So here's a list from issues and controversies again of, again, right, a variety of different research topics. The only exception, the only thing that I'm saying, I mentioned this in our weekly updates from week 14. You cannot write about two issues. Two issues are banned from us writing about them, right? Okay, right. So the first issue that's banned is abortion, right? The second, gun control. Okay. Those are two issues that you cannot write about for your essays. I will not allow for you all to actually write those essays on those topics. Okay. Just please refer back to my video on weekly updates and announcements from week 14 in order to get a better understanding of why. All right. So finding background information, I've already shown you this step right here. So I've shown you the step of how to pick a topic. All right. I've also shown you the step of how to find background information. That's why I showed you how to explore issues and controversies and right? So if you look right here, you'll see issues and controversies is provided right here. You'll also see another reference source called Gale reference source, right? Gale ebooks. You'll also see, well, this says the Cerritos College Library Catalog. I've never actually used this, but I'm sure it's actually a really good resource. I'm going to have to actually go back and explore this one right here on my own. And then, of course, another website is called that's very similar to Issues and Controversies, but again, I don't think that it's, I think it's a little bit different from Issues and Controversies. Issues and Controversies is my number one. This is probably like my number three, right? Just reference source that I go to, right? My number three choice as a go-to. Opposing viewpoints in context. They have online journals, they have resources, they have online books, and then they also have scholarly peer-reviewed journals, okay? Now, if we're going through and trying to do more research on the science, I mean, on the topic itself, right? The kind of words that we use to initiate our search matters the most, right? So this is what we call Boolean searching. And really, to be honest with you all, I think that's actually what started quickly finding all the info in one place, right? In one place that you need. So I would certainly go back and kind of review this video once our site is back up and running. Next, you'll want to try to find news and research articles, right? This actually presents you with a guide. Look at how it gives you, right, a link to the databases. So that should tell you something about how important the database alphabetical order is to the overall effort of doing research, right? And also how important the databases by subject is, right? So you can see all of Cerritos College databases either by listed out in alphabetical order or by subject, right? Which is what we're looking at and exploring right now, okay? So if you do an academic search complete, right, or look at what they call the US Major Dailies, which is a full collection of newspapers and periodicals, right? That can help you to find news articles and research articles, right? So this is popular news media articles, and these are academic peer-reviewed journal articles. And the difference between the two is the level of ethos that's generated, right, between these two sources. Academic research journals have a much higher ethos, a much stronger ethos than your traditional major periodical, right? Your traditional major US news publication. Because news media sources can be greatly influenced by not only individual bias, oftentimes they have checks and checks and balances in that, right? That's what the editor is for. But it can also too be overridden. Editors can be overridden by their corporate owners, right? And so to that degree and extent, it has a lower degree of credibility or a weaker ethos than, say, for example, right, an academic peer-reviewed journal. These are scholars that follow the data, that follow the research, that follow the information, and that go according to the research and the data and wherever it leads you, right? There's a stronger credibility if you use more academic journal resource articles as opposed to, or in combination with news media articles, rather than only relying on major news articles, okay? This here is a short on where to go for good sources, city and town websites, right? So for example, if you're looking at homelessness, the issue of homelessness, right? City and town websites, newspaper articles, reports that are created by nonprofits such as the Pew Research Center, right? Again, these are all great sources for gathering up facts and data. That's what's going to make your argument most persuasive, right? Research, facts, statistics, and data, okay? Now, we have our own campus Netflix, which is filled with a whole bunch of different documentaries, which you can also use in order to help to better inform or at least to kind of give you a strong introduction into your topic. I know that you're not used to hearing your professor say this, but whatever your topic is, go hit a canopy and go watch a documentary on it first. If you're exploring the issue of homelessness, if you're exploring the issue of the rising cost of colleges or college tuition, right? If you're exploring the issue of corporate social responsibility, right? Look for a documentary on our Canopy website in order to just at least give you a general overview of the issue, the history of how things got to be this way from the issue, and also what some researchers or people might actually say or actually have researched um, that best informs our approach to addressing that social issue. Okay. Right. So again, the canopies videos, they're really good. They work in combination. They work best in combination with the reference source. So like issues and controversies, right? Um, right. So like the database that I showed you, right, on issues and controversies, or like the database on procon.org. Right? The Canopy documentary videos work well to help to accomplish the same work that reference databases like those two do for you as well. Okay. Next, this here is probably the most one of the top two most important elements of what I of any research paper or project could ever do, and that is to evaluate the sources. This is partly what I was showing you all as I was reading through the supporting arguments section on corporate social responsibility, right? Remember how I said that we have to evaluate these sources to see if they're sufficient, to see if they're accurate, and to see if they're relevant, right? Well, that same guiding framework is exactly what we use to the reason why I say sufficient, accurate, and relevant is to combat against misinformation, disinformation, and be able to help you to distinguish between a good and a bad source, right? So here they actually have a video. Let's say, looks like those hackers again. Okay, so again, when or as you all are kind of checking through this, may actually play for you. And if so, that's great. That's perfect. But otherwise, if not, if this here is like kind of a system wide issue, then once we get back up and running, certainly review this video here. So that way you can actually see how to evaluate sources, right? There's also, too, it looks like another couple quick sources, quick reference videos. Looks like oh, see? Way. All my people who be saying we soft take a seat. We gonna rock into the next episode. Ooh, let me see. Hopefully I can do this. Can I do this? Let me see if I can do this. Can I do this? Dang, it's not gonna let me do it. Okay, watch this. I need I have to switch my share window. See, so okay, it's the hackers, folks. The hackers, we can't view any YouTube video apparently that's housed on Cerritos College database, and I don't know why. But none of those library videos, we can't see any of those library videos. All the other non-affiliated, we could see all the library affiliate videos, right? So this here is one that's on online verification skills, right? An introductory video to it, right? So I'm gonna drop this in the chat so you can see. So that's the link to this video here. Okay. I know, right? So this here looks like it's accessible. It looks like it's ready to rock and roll. That's good. Um, looks like, oh yeah. So this here is like a video series. Okay. So go back and definitely check out that video series, which is under our Cerritos College Library database website. The research guides. Let me actually scroll up so that way you can better see each one of these sources right here. Okay, so yeah, it looks like right. This here is step one or video number one, right? Video number two, how to investigate a source. Use this Wikipedia trick, and I think I know the ones that it's going to actually do. Wikipedia is great. It's kind of like a diving board, right? You don't use a diving board to swim. You use a diving board to jump in the pool, right? Similarly, you don't use Wikipedia information in order to support your argument. No, you use Wikipedia to find the reference points, the reference list that's down at the bottom to see where they got the information from. And then you can apply the skills that you learn how to use to find and quickly check the information, right? To decide which sources you want to actually use from that wiki resource, right? How to find the original source. Here's a video on how to do just that, which is actually excellent. That's the skill that you need to actually watch, view, and develop, right? So that way you can make sure that you have good, sufficient, accurate, and relevant resource information. And also how to check for better sources. So this here is a four-part video series that goes over how to find information quickly, how to investigate sources, how to also identify the original source, and then for better sources. Okay. So here's how you can also check whether or not to see if you can actually trust the information, i.e., identify its accuracy, right? In less than 5 minutes, right? So, one, investigate the source, find the original source, and check to see if they're better sources. Again, the same concepts that are introduced above, right? Here's a list of fact checking websites that you could use in order to evaluate the accuracy of the source information that you might actually be receiving. Sometimes we'll receive information where you may actually see a different response, right? Or you may see that information on Wikipedia, for example, presented in a completely different way on issues and controversies, right? And if that's the case, then you want to check you want to check the accuracy of the resource that you identified on, or excuse me, the information that you found on Wikipedia. Right, you can go to one of these sites right here: factcheck.org, PolitiFact, ProPublica, U.S. Major Dailies, and also 2snoops.com. Right, each one of these resource links will lead you directly to those sites. Again, independent of Cerritos, so they'll be up and running, and you can have access to them. Right, on your own and at your leisure. This is how you can make sure that your sources are accurate. So now for the most important component of research argument, the works cited. How to cite by format. All of you should actually know how to do this by now because one, you should have seen plenty of comments that I've actually left on a lot of essays where you have not cited the information correctly, or you would have actually seen comments that said, wow, this is done really well. Excellent in-text citations, excellent use of your works cited strategies. This is how it's done, right? So I've delivered a list of both. I've delivered a list of both kinds of comments for all of you to actually kind of explore, right? So part of what I want for you to actually look at here, or at least what our research library database guides provide you with, is a link to the MLA Style Center, which provides you with some direct line examples of how to cite properly books, online sources, songs or recordings, right? Movies, videos, and television shows, and even images. And then it also gives you like a some examples, right? So here it gives you an example of a book by one author, a book by an unknown author, an edited book, right? Books for anthologies, audio books, regular books, book series, comics, ebooks, right? So on and so forth here, right? Let's go to our next example. Then it gives you some examples of how to cite things online, everything from articles to books to journal articles in a database, like JSTOR or like on procon.org or like on issues and controversies, right? This here is the thing that you want to actually identify for your works cited is what kind of source am I referencing here? A good way to keep track of that is by including it in your research field notes sheet. Okay, right? So here I'm going to identify, and I should have done this earlier. This here is my bad, right? Issues and controversies. Issuesandcontroversies.com, right? If I want to be thorough, right, then I'm going to actually copy and paste the website specifically so that way I can always have the reference. So, right, so here now I can always access the reference point, and I know what important points I took away from this resource right here. You can do the same thing for your next research database, right? So like if I were to use procon.org, right? I'm going to go right here. I'm going to take, copy it, paste it, boom, right? And now I again begin to take, my keynotes and things like that, right, from the website itself. Corporate social responsibility. Here, boom, it gives a definition, right? So here's where my definition of social responsibility comes from, procon.org, right? So the idea here is just kind of wrap it up, sum it up in a nutshell, right? Let's bring this here on to a close, is that we want to actually cite these sources. So if I'm citing, let's say, for example, right, something like procon.org, right, or issues of controversy, since it's an online database, right, then I want to click here through how do I cite an article in a library database, a work in a database, searched on EBSCOhost, right? How do I access a source that requires a paid subscription? Do I need a separate works cited for every work I use? I'm citing an online article that lacks page numbers. I'm citing an image from a database. Should I? Looks like the most straightforward one here is actually, oh yeah. How do I cite an article in a library database, right? So if I'm trying to cite this article here, right, then I would want to follow these guidelines right here, right? So remember, our HTTPs can be omitted in permalinks, right? I would just copy the model that's provided right here, and then I can go directly to like the source. If I want to kind of keep track of them, right? I might actually include it. I'll need to actually like revise this, right? So I'll have to go to the issues and controversies. Okay, heck, so who updated it? Okay, doesn't look like they have. Doesn't look like they have any information. Oh, hey, look, they actually have a citation right here. So I can cite not in APA, not in Chicago, but in MLA. So boom, I have the citation right here. And go directly back. Delete this because that's not accurate. Replace it. Boom. Done. Look here. See, there's no author for this site. So it's just the title of the site, the name of the site, that's italicized, right? Info base, February 24, 2006 is when it was created. Here's the DOI link right here. Now, this is still inaccurate only because it does not give us the date that we accessed it. So, oh, you know what? I'm sorry. They updated the MLA standard. So you don't actually need the date that you accessed it. It's just quite simply, yeah, I remember actually. Yeah, they did. They have updated. So you don't need the date that you accessed it. You only need the date that the website there was created itself. Okay. So these models, journal articles in a database, book on a website, right? Article on a website. These are perfectly fine for you to use, right? So like you can copy and paste them, but just make sure that you can update or substitute the author's name, right? All of these elements that you see right here that's listed, right? The list, the author, the title of the work, the title of the website, and the publication details. You want to make sure that you substitute what's in the model for your original resource, source link. Okay. That does indeed cover. That does indeed cover the works cited list, the works cited section for the library research databases, right? So, in a nutshell, this here is exactly the place where, if you're not familiar with the issue itself, I would use the library research guides, search by subject, right, to find my specific issue, right, or at least to find my. I would use this library database, guys, to find my topic itself and to learn more about the actual issue by using the library database guides. Okay. Hopefully, this was helpful for you all to learn how to do research, how to do academic database research. And in addition, I will actually, so you all can always access this. Wow, heck, we're rolling on 2 hours here. You can always access this video by going to my YouTube channel. Once we get back up and running with the Canvas, then I will post it up on our Canvas underneath announcements. So that way you guys can go back. It'll be under week 14, of course, where you can go back and you'll see the video, and then you can go back and like kind of replay it or watch it at multiple speeds, right? Or just kind of click through and just go back to the specific certain parts, right? So you can always come back and kind of re-watch what it is that we went over here together in this YouTube live at your leisure, okay? Well, thank y'all so much for hanging on out with me. Thanks so much for sticking on, hanging in there and sticking it out. Jose, thank you so much for tapping on in. Thank you so much for your commentary here, man, and your questions, man, and just letting me know that I was going blurry. It's those damn hackers, man. You take care, and everybody, y'all take care of yourselves and each other. Your revisions are due this Sunday, 11:59 p.m. on Canvas. If it's up, and if it's not up, then I'll send out some new correspondence via Slack, just to kind of give you all some guidance and some next steps on how to submit your revisions. But we'll cross that bridge once we get to it, okay? Your final research essays are due no later than May 17th. That's not this Sunday, but the Sunday after. And if you remember last week, I took a poll on here for those of you who want to actually still submit your research argument proposals for those of you who want to submit it through on May 10th, right, the original due date, you can, and you'll receive 5 points extra credit for that. Okay. Again, you cannot use Chat GPT. Do not use any AI. Do not even try to humanize or select the humanize me option on Chat GPT, or use one of the AI companions or chat bots that allow you to humanize the language, right? Because again, I can kind of see through it. If it's not using my techniques that I'm teaching you all in class, or that I'm showing you all in the online course modules, then it's going to actually impact your grades directly. I've already had students who just don't, they didn't use any parts of what it is that we've learned in the course modules, and their grades reflect that. Okay, right. So, and that's not a bad thing on them, right? They just have to go back and go and redo the essay, right? That's not a bad thing. It just means that you got to go back and go redo the essay. So you want to be conscious of that now at the end of the semester, because now we're in a time crunch. Okay. Uh, can I ask the hacker for help? Jose, only if the hacker can fix Canvas. If the hacker fixes Canvas, sure, ask him. Hey, y'all take care of yourselves and each other. Thanks so much for keeping me actually in stitches today, Jose, man. I appreciate you, man. Y'all take care. I'll see y'all a little bit later on. Have a good evening. Peace.